Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. Today's topic is Microsoft Forms. This is a part of an ongoing series we'll be doing every other week. My name is Jack Reedy, Senior Business Developer here at TLC Tech. To keep everything on track and not go over the allotted time, we will be muting all participants for the duration of the webinar. After each section, we will take a few questions related to the topic. If your question is not answered, there will be an opportunity to ask questions at the end of the webinar during the Q&A segment. If you do have a question, please type it into the question pod of your GoToWebinar control panel. At this time, I'd like to introduce you to today's instructor, Michael Nelson, President and founder of TLC Tech, a Sacramento-based IT company dedicated to helping businesses grow and thrive through Microsoft integrations, managed IT services, and cybersecurity solutions. Now I'll turn it over to Michael, who will share with you our agenda in Microsoft Forms.
Thanks, Jack, and thanks everybody for attending. I'm really looking forward to this one. Forms is, I'll log in just a second. It is deceptively simple, and there's some really cool things that you can do with it. So first off is, how do you get there? Two different ways. You can log into your office.com account, get to the splash screen here, and choose Forms, or you can simply go to forms.office.com. and it'll log you directly into the Forms site. So right now you can see I have 4 things up here. There's actually a webinar I did. Some of you probably had responded to this one. This was after the very first or second webinar that we did. I sent out a poll asking what interest and on what devices. Funny thing is, I'll just show you really quick on the responses. Is the number of people that were interested in Forms that responded is 12 people, which is the exact number of people we have on the call today. So I found that a little ironic. So again, top level of Forms, you're going to see any forms that you've done prior to this, and then you have new form, new quiz. That's pretty much it. You've also got forms that have been shared with me or group forms that have been done by other people. This is one that Brett had done. This was just a test that Jack and I had done. So you always start out from the My Forms page. And again, you can get here from, if you're on your main Office 365, again, you've got your waffle. We call that the waffle. On the main Office 365 page, you have Forms. If you don't use it frequently and you don't see it, just click on All Apps. That'll bring up everything, and then you would see Forms there. As you start using it more and more, you're going to see it show up on that front page. So without further ado, we're going to start on creating a new form. Let me just get rid of that one. And you'll notice, again, the ellipses, like we're always used to seeing, the ellipses here are just based on that particular form. What do you want to do? Do you want to copy it, move it, or delete it? This one I'm going to delete because that was just testing. So these are the 3 ones I've done. You can see there was 1 response here, 24 on that one, and then this is one that I've just been playing around with for the past couple of days, prepping for this. So I'm going to go ahead and say a new form comes up untitled. I just click into it, and then I can give it a new title. So we'll call this webinar Show Off. And then let's, for the date, for the subtitle, we'll do just the date here. And then you'll notice right here, I have an image that I can do. I can insert an image here. It pulls up several different ways. You can do an image search. So if I wanted to do, let's say Forms, this will just come up. Okay, so it's taking me to all the tax forms. That wouldn't be a good one. Let's say that we're going to do one on vacation spots. So let's say you're doing a poll on your favorite vacation, where you want to go on vacation. So we'll just make this for the image, add that, and then it just simply puts it in, makes it a little more attractive. That takes a second. It's uploading right now. And then the other thing that you can do in here is choose a theme for this. So again, it knows that I chose vacation, so it put this travel one in here. This is a studio, so there's different ways you can do this. It'll pull in based upon what you've done, what your title is. It'll give you some theme ideas, and then you can also just go kind of the basics. If you don't like the colors here, let's say you wanted to change that to blue or a darker blue, you can change your colors this way. So we'll go ahead and let's go ahead and make this the theme, this one, and we'll go ahead and make this a little more on the blue side. Oh, sorry, the blue overrides it. You have to stay with this theme. So we'll keep this theme. It's still uploading the picture. That's one of the issues about grabbing off the web. You may run into some issues like that. So I'll let that keep going. And then I'm going to add, everything starts with add new. So when I go add new, I can say, so there's, let me back up here for a second. Let me start a new form without a template. Just gonna do this webinar 2 and test 2. Now I'm not applying a theme for it, and one of the reasons I wanted to do this is you'll see when I just add a new, now how it's still adding, it's giving me all of the templates. So it's gonna ask me, hey, do you wanna add these? No, I don't. I just wanna go here. I want it to be a choice, and then I can type whatever my question is. So let's say that what day of the week do you wanna leave? This is on the vacation, and look that it just gave me suggested options. It's smart enough, so it's starting to build AI, artificial intelligence, into forms. So now all I have to do is just say add all, bam, that fills that out, that's done. Now I could allow multiple answers. I could also make this a required answer. So we'll go ahead and make that required. I'm not going to do multiple, they have to select one day. I'll add another. This one is, we'll make this free form. Where would you like to go? And then they can do the answer here. Also going to make that required. If I wanted, I could also say make it a long answer. It just gives them more room to type with. So I'm gonna go ahead and leave that as a short answer. I'll do another, and this time I'm gonna choose date. What date would you like to return? And I'll also make that required. So now I've just created a very quick and easy little poll. If I want to preview what this is going to look like, I just go into preview. Here's what it shows up. Bam, bam, what day of the week? Where do you want to go? What date would you like to return? And you'll notice because I made it a date, it actually gives me a date picker in here so they can easily just fill that in. Now, this is what it looks like on the computer. If you want to see what it would look like on mobile, you just click there, and then you can view what it's going to look like. I'll go back to computer, and the interesting thing is I can actually also submit from this preview. I want to go to Fiji. I'm sure everybody has travel wishes right now. I can go ahead and submit that and then go back to my webinar. You'll see that I have one response so far, and it shows me what answers they gave. Okay, so to get back out of here, I'm going to go back up to my forms. So I've got the webinar 2, back to my webinar show off. We got the pretty picture, same thing, and then I can add the new. And again, it's going to ask me if I want to use this information. If I don't want to do that, it's simple, just bam, take that out. You'll also probably notice, let me go ahead and get rid of this one. Oops, go back here. Let's just delete this one again. Okay, so I'm going to go here, go back to the questions. I'm going to add a new, and you may notice right here I've got some pull downs. So these are more question types. I can choose a ranking that would make them rank in order. So let's try this. Where would you like to go? And we'll go, let's do option 1 is going to be Fiji. We'll do Paris, and let's do Morocco. I hope I spelled that right. We'll make that required. We're going to also add a new date. Now, I can also do things like file upload, or I can break this into a section. I know we've got 1 or 2 educators on the call today. For the business people, it's also, you can do a net promoter score that basically, and it fills it out, how likely are you to recommend us to a colleague or a friend? 0 to 10. If you are not familiar with Net Promoter, it's really a cool concept for businesses. It's a way that they score that basically you count 8, 9, and 10 for you. 6 and 7 are mute. 5 and below counts against you. And then there's a formula, and that'll tell you what your Net Promoter Score is. Apple receives like 60. Airlines typically receive about 2. Some of them are actually in the negative as well. So you've got Net Promoter Score. These are all the things built in. Again, add, and then you've got your choice, text, rating. Now this is one, this is very much, we see this on Yelp, we see this on Amazon.com. Same thing, how did we do on a scale? How did we do on your ticket? Because most of you supply tickets to us. Now we have the levels, so you can say how many, so I could do it up to 10. Stars, when you're doing the star, most people are used to 5. You can choose the symbol. Do you want a number or do you want a star? So you can kind of customize it that way as well. You may be noticing each of these has a little bit more. Every single one of these has a ellipses on it. So if I wanted a subtitle on this one, the last ticket completed, so that you can give more information this way. So now again, I've got this form. I can go into the preview, shows me the same thing. And again, now the Fiji, now this one, if you notice when they go to answer it, they can drag and drop the order in which they'd like to go. Then I'm extremely likely, how did we do? Okay, I'm gonna give it 5, submit that, bam. Oops, nope, those were required questions. So we'll go ahead and do this. And we'll just do a quick date here. So it's always a good idea to test this out. Really good idea. Test this out. So now I've got 2 responses in here. It's told me what I have, what the first choices are. This will do ranking for you when you get more people doing it that way. Then you've got your Net Promoter Score, shows this way. But let's say that you've done this and you want to get rid of this data now. You want to keep this, but you've done all the testing. Now you're ready for this to go live. All you have to do here is, again, go to the ellipses, and now I've got the option to delete all the responses, or I can do a print summary. If I printed the summary, it's just going to take me directly to a print dialog box and give me the summary. I'll go ahead and cancel out of that. For right now, let me get back in here. 2 responses. For right now, I'm going to go ahead and delete all of the responses. Yes, that's permanent. I know I'm good. Go ahead and delete it. Now I have my questions. I'm back to a clean, no responses. And now I can go ahead and send this out. A couple of different ways to do that is you can share it. Right now, I can say only people in my organization can respond. For those of you that have been through the OneDrive, OneDrive and SharePoint, this will look very familiar. Or anyone with a link can respond. So if you're sending it outside, like I did on the poll to find out what everybody was interested in on the office on these webinars, I chose that to anyone with a link. I can copy it. I can share as a template. I can also share to one of the other people inside my organization. We can start collaborating on this. I can pop it out in an email this way. Easiest way is to do a copy. That copies the link. Then you can just paste that into an email and send it. Jack, do we have any questions?
Not at this time.
Okay, so remember people, if you got questions, do it anytime you want. In the GoToWebinar, there's a little thing that says questions. If you just open that up, you can type questions into that area. So that's the basics. Let me go back to the main. I want you to, so you see the 2 things. We've got a new form or we've got a new quiz. Very simply, the only difference is quizzes have points. And when I go into build it, you have a point weighting. So this is going to be important to anybody that's an educator on this, or if in your business you're doing you've done onboarding or you're doing training with a new employee and you want to kind of test their knowledge. So the webinar we're doing in 2 weeks is going to be on Microsoft Stream, which is the video, the built-in video into Office 365. An incredible way to use that is for training of new employees. Anytime you're doing the same kind of things over and over with future employees, what I would encourage, especially now if you're doing it remote, is set up a Teams meeting, do it in Teams, set it up and record it in Teams. Then you can go back, post that online, and you can actually tie a webinar to it, tie a forms poll to it as well, or a quiz, so that this way you know if they've learned and retained what you wanted them to know. So again, when you do this, you have points. You can give it 1 point, 5 point, 10 points, however you want. We'll go ahead and make that 10. You can say it can be multiple answers. And you'll notice here, the other difference is right here, as I'm moving over, I can do that's a correct answer. Now, if it's only a single answer, you can only have one correct answer. If there's multiple answers that can be correct, then you can do this and you can say any of these 3 would be considered required answers. You can also make it required like the others. And again, you've got other options in here, math being one of them. I'm not going to go that deep, but if there's any educators that would like to go a little deeper in that, feel free to reach out to me via email. This other question I had is, what is 2 plus 2 times 2? 4 answers or 3 answers, and if you notice in here it was just that. I said that's the correct answer. You can also do a message if you want. Respond, we'll just do you got this right. Okay, so we've got that. So now I've got the two questions, and I know what the correct answer is. I'm going to answer that incorrectly. And we've got Monday, Wednesday. So I'm going to say, is this true? Yes. I'm going to choose Monday, Wednesday. Then I'm going to go in and what are the points? Submit. Now, this is a good one. We're going to get into this into the advanced one. This only allows one response per person. So it knows I've logged in because I'm logged in from within my organization. If you send this link to outside people and say that people outside the organizations can answer it, they will show up as anonymous. And I'll show you how that works in a moment. So we're going to go back and I'm going to go, wait a second, I want to be able to answer that. So again, I'm in the forms, I'm in the preview, I'm in the area where I can preview. I've also got more ellipses here. I'm going to go to the settings for this form, and I'm going to say that I'm going to allow more than one response per person. Now it'll say record names, and I'm saying only people in my organization. I can also say anyone with the link. I can force it, but you notice right now, when I do that, I can't say only one person and record name because again, they're coming in anonymous, so it can't track it. So I'm going to say only people in my organization, and I'm going to I'll go ahead and record the name, turn that back. I'm going to go into the preview and I'm going to answer the questions again. So I'm going to say Wednesday and then yes, submit it. Now it lets me do it. I can view the responses and see that I got that right. So again, the basic difference between a quiz, let me go back to the main page, between a quiz and a form is that quiz you can apply points to and you can do some math, very basic math at this point, by the way, in the background. Okay, so I'm going to do the new employee onboarding. You'll notice here that I've got what's your full name, have you started working, what's your preferred name, date of birth, social security, home, and preferred start date. One of the things I'm going to show you now is I'm going to go into preview. So I've got right here, I've got 7 questions. Go ahead and preview this. There's only 2. What's up with this? So my full name is Michael Nelson. And have I started work yet? Yes. Now it just jumped me and gave me all the questions. Have I started work yet? No. Now it just gave me what is my preferred start date. So this is what I want to point out is what is known as branching. And when I go into have you started work yet, you'll notice right here, I have a drop down and I had added branching in here. So let me see, we get in here. So let me do another form just so you can see this clean. We're going to do text. What is your name? We'll make that required, and then I'm going to add a new one. Stop making suggestions, and we'll go ahead and do birth date. Have you started yet? Okay. And actually, that needed to be a choice, so I'm going to go ahead and delete that. Add a new. Do a choice. Have you started yet? At all, yes, no, maybe. I'm going to get rid of that maybe. And then right here, I can say add branching. When I go into branching, it's going to ask me, and we're going to go back because you need to be able to tell it where to go. So if they answer yes, go here. If they answer no, go there. You notice that I don't have very many options right now. So I'm going to go back, keep answering. We'll do a text. And I'm just going to name this for speed. Question 3, add another one, text. Question 4, add a new one, text. Question 5. Question 6. Now I've got my 6 questions in here, but here is where I want to do the branching. So now that I've got the questions, I go back into here and I say start add branching from here. Have you started? If it's yes, then I want you to go on to question 3. If it's no, I want you to jump directly to the last question. Do this, go back. Now I can do my preview. And again, I only start with the first 2 questions because it's got to know the answer to this one before it'll start branching to the next one. So if I say no, it jumps me directly to, you notice it's going to show up as number 3. That was the title that I put in there. If I go into 6, then it jumps me directly to 3, 4, 5, and 6. Any questions on the branching?
Nothing yet at this time.
Okay, so we're going to go back to my main page forms. Okay, so another thing I can do is on, let me go ahead and kill this one. Kill that, kill this one as well. Okay, so new form, add new. If I go into, let me see on here. Oh, right. Okay, so I can do a text, and one of the things I can do is add a restriction here, and I can say restrict it to numbers only. Or again, this goes back to the teachers on the call. If you want to say greater than, greater or less than, you can do this. So this is one of the only things that you can do for limiting it, but you can say, no, this must be a number. Be very careful. Originally, the first time I played with this for the Social Security, I put can only be a number, but because it was dashes, it wouldn't accept the answer. So that's why you always want to do the preview like I talked about. Let me do another one. I'll get rid of this one. I'm going to add a choice. We've got multiple choices here. So day of the week. I didn't do it for me. Let me delete this one, start. I'll go ahead and do a choice. What day of the week to meet? I'm going to say add them all. We've got the 7, but now in here, I'm going to make it required. And in here, I'm going to say, make it a drop down.
Hey,
So
Michael, before you get too far, there was
Yep.
one quick question on that other one.
Okay.
What if you want to get rid of question 6 when you choose yes in your example before?
Get rid of question 6. So let me jump to that in a second. Let me just add this one thing and then I'll jump over the other one. So right here, I'm going to say, make this a drop down. When I go and preview it, now I have to choose one of the days this way. I can go back. what day of the week. I can remove the drop down, preview, and now it shows up this way. You can get a really long form if you've got too many answers. So if you've got 5, 6, 7 things like that, and you want to keep the form fairly concise, it's easiest just to go in, click, make it a drop down, especially if there's only one answer possible. Do the drop down, preview it, bam, makes it just much shorter. Okay, so back to, so is this how to delete a question once it's been in there, or is this specific to
It's for
the,
regarding the branching, I believe. Yeah, so
okay,
if
so
you
let's
had,
do this. We'll add a
yeah,
new text, let me see, when, what month? Okay, we'll do that, add 3, and then I'm just gonna do a bunch of question, let me see, this is 3, question 3, question 3, text, question 4, oops, 5, and then we'll just do a 6, okay. So now we're gonna branch from here. I have to give it the, actually I have to make that a choice. I messed this one up, so let me add a new one. Choice, what month to leave. For this one, I'm just gonna say August and September, otherwise we're gonna have way too many options. I'll just give the 3, and we're gonna go branching from here. And if they choose August, we're gonna jump to 4. If they choose September, we'll jump to 5. And if they choose October, we're just gonna jump all the way in. So this does bring up a really good point. So once we do this, now, let me see, what month? I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of that one because that was just, I messed up on that one. Let me go back. So what month? Click on there, delete that one. Now we've got this one. Also, we've got what day, so that's a pull down, great. Preview this, what day do you want to meet? Okay, we'll do that. I want to leave on August. That brings up. Now, if the question is, if they choose August and I want to get rid of question 5, or so the question I need to ask is, do you want that question 5 to be gone for everyone or just on a particular branch? So if it's on a particular branch, let me go back here and go into add branching. So now it brings back the branch options. I can now change them again. But so that's how you can change those. What I do want to point out, so I'm saying go to question 4. Here's the rub is if I go in and go back and I go to question 4 and I delete this, that was part of my branching. So now what happens is I'm going to have to deal with my branching again because it doesn't know what to do because I took away what it knew was the option. So the way that you want to do the branching, build the form out first, make sure everything's good, add the branching. If you delete anything after you've added the branching, make certain that you go and do the preview form. That's always in here, and then make sure that the behavior is doing what you expect it to. If it's not, you just simply go back, go into and start rebuilding it again. And all you do is go into the ellipses, go to your branching, and it brings it back. Let me know if that does not answer your question.
they
Okay,
had a
so
clarification as well before. I said if you
okay,
said yes to question 1 through 5 and no to question 6, how to avoid question 6 after you chose yes on a particular branch.
you'd have to do double branching there. So if it was, so here, what month? If I chose yes, I can choose where it jumps me where it jumps me to. If I choose no, I jump to another location. You could do another branch down. Let's say that it jumped to question 3 and question 4. Let's say that one didn't exist, or I go to question 6. But when I get to question 4, there's another branch there as well. It wouldn't even show question 5 until I answered question 4. So this gets almost a little recursive. So I don't want to go too much deeper, but I'd be happy to jump on a quick Teams meeting and kind of play around with
I think
with
that's
it.
what they were getting at too. Yeah.
So yeah.
Yep.
Okay, how are we doing on time? 10:30, good. Okay, so we talked about previewing the forms. Let's go ahead and look. So are there any questions on building forms? Because now we're gonna go into, after you built them and you've had people respond, and we're gonna show some things that way, and then I'm gonna show you some more advanced options. Any questions on building forms at this point?
Nothing else.
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and delete that one just to keep things clean. Okay, so responses. So I'm going to go to the webinar survey because this is the one most all of you all filled out. I did this based on ratings, and then I said, what would you be interested in learning? Check all that apply. So if you go in and look at this one, multiple answers were allowed, and this was required. These I don't think I made required. No, I did not. And then the cadence, and then do you have any additional feedback for me? So that was, you notice right here, that was the long answer. That's how it shows up. That's how it looks in the preview. So I'll just show you on the preview. I had more room to type in here instead of just a single spaced box. Okay, I'm gonna go back, click on my responses, and I can see I had 24 people, took an average of 145. I closed this, and that's an important thing I wanna show you. Now I can just scroll down here and see this is the aggregate, or I can click on view responses. That's respondent 1. That was anonymous. I can actually go individually and see all 24 of the people who responded. That's one way to view the results. That's viewing them individually. I can view them this way. I can also jump in. There's 24, see more details. That will tell me, gotta log in for some reason. More details. And this tells me all of the responses I got. So, but again, remember everything's showing up as anonymous there. I can also go in on this one, more details. I'd be interested in learning about the following. This just gave me the details on that one. But here is additional feedback, more details, and this is what people typed in. So I can get my additional feedback there. So this is the way you can view everything. It also does that in nice little charts for you, which is nice. The other thing that you can do is say open in Excel. Come on, open up for me. There we go. Okay, so it now launches the Excel down here. Open the file. And now this gives me everything I need to know. So when they started it, when they completed it, what email, if they were registered, what they did, what they would be interested in, weekly cadence, and any other comments. So it just pushes it out into an Excel workbook, which makes it, depending upon what you're doing, that might be an easier way to deal with that. Again, we talked about the ellipses here. You can delete everything, print summary, or you can get a summary link. So let's say that you're doing this for your department. You need to send the results to your boss. You can simply just copy that, send the link over to your boss. Let me show you what this shows up as. Then it's just going to take him or her to this survey response. And again, they just get the basics here. They can't click into anything. So this is kind of the high level view of the survey responses. If you want to be able to click into them, you actually have to be inside of the forms, in the forms portion of Office 365. Okay, so I'm gonna go to the responses. Any questions on viewing the responses?
There was one other question as well. How to add an introduction before listing your questions, or just some text that doesn't require a reader's response.
Ooh, good question. You may have played Stump the Geek here. Actually, I think where you would probably end up doing it is you could do it under the description. Yeah, yeah, you could probably also fake it here, but I don't think that's going to be the best. What you'd probably want to do is Yeah, honestly, you're going to probably want to do it here. Is entering the description, do the title, do the description underneath that. The only other way that I could think of is if you wanted to build a little splash screen on your website, you could do that and then do a hyperlink into this form. That would be another way to do it. If you're doing this internally, you could do that on your SharePoint website and then embed the form that way as well. I hope that answers it, but we will see. Okay, and if not, pop in more questions. Okay, so now I'm going to go into the top level. So let me go back into, I'll go back to the webinar survey, and I'm going to go into my ellipses here. Settings, again, we've talked about this. Who can fill this out? That was anyone with the link. You'll notice right here, accept responses, and then let me show you this really quick. Let me get out of this. And if you notice right here on the responses, the status is closed. If I go into the settings and I say accept responses, refresh this, it's now active. So that would start accepting answers again. So I'm going to go ahead and go back on my settings. Now, I can also say only accept start and stop on these dates. That's another way that you can do it. You can say it still has to be accept responses. Then you can do a start and an end date, so that can only be answered within that particular time window. You can also shuffle the questions. You can also send a customized thank you message. That's again if you have their email address. You can also be notified if you on each response you get. We've got that one. Now, because anyone with the link is chosen, you cannot restrict it to one response. That only works if it's people inside your organization, and then basically you can make sure nobody votes more than once. But that option only shows up if it's people inside of your organization. So you've got the top level. If you forgot to close a survey, for the longest time, quite honestly, mine did not have this option. It was only when I went in and started really digging in that I made it closed. It had remained open, but that poll was from some time ago. So that may or may not be critical to you to keep it, to open it and close it. But if it is, and you want to lock it down to a date, just go into your settings and do it that way. So you can accept responses, start date, end date is how you do that. You may also have noticed in here multilingual. I'm only going to show that because it isn't as cool as you would think. I'm going to do French, which is my other language, and do this. Now, when I go in, let me see, I'm going to share the preview. You'll notice up here it says English, or now I can choose French, but all it does is it doesn't translate your questions, it only translates what Microsoft is saying. So send, enter your response here. This is proprietary information. So that's the only thing that changes. It would have been super cool if it translated on the fly. It's not there. So honestly, you may or may not want to do that, but you may or may not want to do that. If I want to get rid of this, all I have to do is delete the additional language. Yes, I'm sure. Do that. We talked about how you close a survey by going into the settings and uncheck the accept responses. And then the notifications I talked to you about that you can also in the settings say be notified. Any questions? And then I'm going to kind of show you couple of other cool things tying this to other parts of Office 365.
There was one other question of any word limit for the description section. I was just testing it right now. It doesn't appear to. I've got quite a lot of characters in there, and it doesn't seem to be stopping me.
Thank you for that, Jack. And yes, I am sure there is a limit.
Eventually.
Jack, would you grab who that is so that we can get, I can find out what that hard limit is, and then we'll go ahead and email that to you.
Sure thing.
Okay, so I'm going to show you now adding, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to launch my Teams. That's where we started, is everything was on Teams. In the first 3 webinars were on Teams. Let me get this prepped and ready real quick so that I don't embarrass myself. I've done live webinars where somebody typed me something that I was not expecting. So I've already got this. Let's go back and see what forms I have. So I have the, let's do the new employee onboarding. So I'll go into here. This is my channel for the webinar series. I'm going to go ahead and add a tab. Again, I'm going to add a form. It automatically knows who I am because I've obviously logged in. I'm going to add an existing form that's been built, and we were going to do the new onboarding, new employee onboarding. Save this, bam, it just pulls a new tab, and there's the form. So my name is Michael A. Nelson. And yes, I have started work. So it brings up, again, remember that's the branching. I go by Michael, my date of birth, social security is not that. And my home address, I'm going to say home. And then my start date. Honestly, I should have branching here because I've already started. And then I'm going to go ahead and hit submit. So it's the same exact form. It's inside, it's just embedded inside of Teams. If I go back to the new employee onboarding, you will notice now I have my responses. So I've got in here, if you remembered, it went from, let me refresh that because I didn't catch it quickly. Now it's at 3 responses. I've got everything in there. So you can embed a pre-made form inside of a Teams channel. You can also embed it into a SharePoint site. Those are the 2 easiest places to embed them. It's super easy in Teams, as you saw. One other thing that I'm going to show you is, for those that were on, I believe it was last week, was Microsoft Planner. If you notice right here, I have Michael A. Nelson submitted a form. So I chose to have a flow. It's called Power Automate, and they're called flows. I found a flow that said create a planner task when Microsoft Forms is submitted. So I went in, chose it, and it said basically when a new form. So from what, and this was all pre-built. I didn't have to do anything except choose which form I wanted to use. So when that new employee onboarding questionnaire came in, I want to get the list of responses. It's this, create a task. And I said, what, so I chose the, what is your name? And then I added the submitted a form, delays just by 5 seconds. And then the update task. These were all pre-built. I ran that, saved it as a flow, and then as soon as I submitted, so let's do it again. So that's Michael A. Nelson. So let's go back to that was the new employee. And I'll do a preview so I can answer it. Let me see, test webinar. And I'm going to say yes, and tester. By the way, it does want real math here. It will not let you fake that. I tried that just for giggles. It did not work. So it wants it a month, date, year. So let's go ahead. I'll jump this back to 2001, grab that date. Probably something. Okay. Go there, Social Security. Is home, and we'll just say preferred start date is tomorrow. Submit that. Now, if I go back to my planner, it'll take about 5 seconds. I'll go ahead and refresh and test webinar submitted a form, because remember when I filled that out, I said test webinar was the username. So view the details, and my response was test webinar. So that showed up as test webinar submitted a form. So you can tie this in. Again, remember that we've got the Microsoft, let me close this up. We've got the Microsoft 365 ecosystem. For those of you that have been on many more webinars, these all, again, tie into each other. So I can have my forms interact with Teams. I can have it interact with SharePoint. You could create a PowerPoint that embeds a link over to Forms. There's just lots of different ways that you can tie them all together. And then the Power Automate, just because this can seem overwhelming, and to a point it can be, let me be very, very clear, because it is ultimately scripting language. But let me show you what I did. All I did is I went in and said, search for a planner for forms. Oops, helps if you type it correctly. Forms, and it basically, so I could do record responses, record it into a SharePoint site. I could send a form response for approval. So let's say that you were using this for onboarding a new employee. You could have the form be submitted, and then it would send a approval to somebody in HR before it could proceed on to the next step. Form to email and SharePoint. Send notification when forms are received. And this will tell you what applications it's using. And I think that's the one. Oh no, this was the one I used. Create a task and planner. And no, actually I used one less, because you could, that would create it in Planner and post a message in Teams. But you just see all of these ones that are tied in anytime you that performs. And I mean, look at how far this goes on, and you can continue to see more templates. It just goes on and on and on, and these are all pre-built. Now you may need a couple, you may need a little bit more of advanced programming. If you choose some of these, yeah, it's going to need, because let me just grab one really quick, that one. First, it says you have to validate that it's that you're signed in. So I haven't signed into that one. Go to continue. And then it's kind of the math that you've got to do. So here is the form. Now it's going to walk you through it. So that was the new onboarding. That's clean, that's good. But where it says select, I'd have to go through and do them. Now, this was saying tie it to an Excel sheet. I would have to go in and have that I'd have to tell it where it is. So not to go through all of this, but you do have to input some of the information. You don't have to get into the hardcore programming language into that side of it. So a lot of these are fairly easy to fill out, but some of them, no ifs, ands, or buts, are going to require somebody that knows a little bit on the programming side. Jack, do we have a question?
Yeah, we had two. Just waiting for some clarification on the other one, asking, can you use this maybe with Google Forms to collect money for any online sales, or is there any app you'd recommend if that one is not able to do that?
No, you can't collect money on this one. Gosh, what would I recommend for that? I've got to be honest, that's outside my bailiwick, as it were. If anybody else has a suggestion for that, we are, most of our partners are paying through our online bill pay, but that's a completely different system. But no, you cannot collect money through the forms.
And then the other one was just a little more elaboration on how it can be used with Teams. Saw that you can add, edit, or view the forms. Do you have any best practices for how that should be used?
So one of them, for example, for us is we pay attention to what we call our KPIs, our key performance indicators. Brett is our account manager, and his job one time was to get the KPIs that we were going to be used. So this is his KPI poll. He built the poll. Now that's his, so I can't embed to that, but these were all of the ones, and then these were the ones keep or kill, and then these were, hey, here's options, which ones would we want to use? So that, if we went into and I'm not going to click into it but our leadership, he could have embedded it the same way that on the webinar series, I embedded it over here. I could go ahead, and again, remember, I can get rid of this by just removing it. Remove that way. I could add a different form this way as well, but it's the ones that I have access to. So if you notice, these are the ones I created. It does not give me access to the one that he created. So best practices. So the best practice is build, edit, modify in forms. Play around with it, get it all done inside of the forms window first. Do everything you need to in here. Oops, already deleted that one. Let me go back to forms. Continue. Do everything you need to in here, get it completely built, get it tested. And again, the testing is super, super easy. Just remember when you're here, click on preview and you can answer that live. It's just that simple. So if you're asking the best practices of how to use forms within Teams, build it inside the forms area first, and then go link it from the SharePoint or the team site. And again, you can do that on any channel that you want. Remember, we've got these are channels. I can add what I want to any channel, same way. So you can have different forms be interacting with different channels. You could have more than one. If I go back over here, I could add, it's getting a little long, but I could add this form. I'll say add an existing, we'll do that one. And then I could add that I had already deleted that. So because the way the whole Office 365 ecosystem works, it's going to take a little while for those deleted ones to actually delete out of the master database that Microsoft 365 has. So I'm going to say add this one. We know that we've got the new employee. We'll do that one. So I can have two different forms on here within the same channel. So two different forms. But again, best practice, do it inside of the forms section of Office 365 and then go ahead and embed it how you want. That is what I had to show you today. Any follow-up questions? Anything else you want me to dive into? Got a few minutes left.
Nothing yet.
Okay, so Jack, you've got the email. We'll figure out the total character limit on the description because I think you want to use that as a splash to be able to give directions or things like that.
Yep.
Alrighty, so we'll get that answered for you. The next webinar is going to be 2 weeks from today, same time. You'll get a follow-up email with a link to go ahead and register for that one. It's going to be on Microsoft Stream, and there's some really, really awesome things that you can do with Stream, especially for internal training, for the teacher that's on the session doing lessons, especially now if there's any chance that you use Teams and you're doing remote learning with your kids, is you can record it. So if somebody's missing, they could go in and be able to do it. You've got to be careful because a stream is tied to an organization. It doesn't, you can share it with people outside, but it kind of removes it from the Streams area. Streams is kind of like almost like a YouTube for your own internal business. So that's what's coming up. I'll hang on for another minute in case there's any questions. Otherwise, thank you very much for attending.
We got our previous webinars available, and yes, they are. When we send the next email, we'll make sure we link that part in our website so that you can go back and view our past webinars.
And that's a great question. Can you embed video? Let's find out. Yeah, there you are, insert media, so you can insert a video, absolutely. So that would be, again, I can see that for onboarding, I can see that for teaching. Great question there.